He went to buy a ranch by a note for and, but shocked to find 3 native girls waiting. Daniel Hale had never trusted cheap deals. In his experience, nothing valuable ever came easily. Every ranch he had worked on, every frontier road he had crossed, had taught him that if something sounded too good to be true, it usually was. That was why the message bothered him. The property listing was short and strange. It appeared on an old frontier network used by settlers and independent ranchers traveling between outer colonies. Most listings included detailed maps, livestock numbers, water reports, and equipment inventory. This one had almost nothing, just a name, a set of coordinates, and a handwritten note scanned into the file. Ranch for sale by note, price negotiable, not empty, someone still waiting. Daniel had stared at those words for a long time. He almost ignored it, almost closed the screen and moved on like he always did. But something about the sentence stayed with him. Maybe it was the way the letters looked uneven, like someone wrote them in a hurry. Maybe it was because he himself had spent years waiting for something he could never clearly define. Or maybe he was simply tired of running. 3 weeks later, his small cargo ship descended through the red clouds of the frontier planet known as Kersh 9. The world looked quiet from orbit, wide plains, rocky hills, and scattered patches of green where settlers had managed to grow life. Not many people lived here. That suited Daniel just fine. He landed near the coordinates just before sunset. Dust rolled across the land like slow waves. The air smelled dry and clean. In the distance, a ranch stood alone against the horizon. It was larger than he expected. A wooden-style house reinforced with metal panels stood at the center, surrounded by aging solar fences. A barn leaned slightly but remained strong, its roof lined with faded energy collectors. Daniel stepped out of the ship, boots crunching against red soil. He felt that familiar quiet, the kind that only existed on distant worlds where crowds had not yet arrived. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine staying here. No noise, no trouble, just work and sky. Then he noticed movement near the house. 3 figures stood by the front porch. Daniel stopped walking. The listing said the ranch was empty. The 3 figures did not move closer. They simply watched him. As he approached carefully, he saw they were young girls, perhaps teenagers or slightly older. Their clothing caught his attention first. It blended traditional tribal designs with advanced fabrics that shimmered faintly under the setting sun. They stood calmly, not afraid but cautious. The oldest stepped forward slightly. "You came," she said quietly. Daniel raised one hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "I'm here about the ranch," he replied. "I thought it was for sale." The girl nodded once. "It is." He looked around, confused. "Then why are you here?" The 3 exchanged brief glances before the oldest spoke again. "We were told someone would come, someone who listens." Daniel frowned. "Told by who?" She hesitated. "The note." Daniel felt a chill move down his spine. "You received it too?" he asked. The girl nodded again. Silence stretched between them. The wind moved softly across the open land, carrying distant sounds of metal creaking. Daniel noticed details now, repaired fence sections, tools neatly arranged near the barn, smoke rising faintly from behind the house. They had been living here. "You take care of this place?" he asked. "Yes," she answered simply. Daniel scratched his beard, trying to understand. Nothing about this situation matched what he expected. "I'm Daniel," he said finally. The girl gave her name, followed by the names of the 2 others. Their voices were calm but reserved, as if they were still deciding whether to trust him. He explained about buying the ranch and showed the digital transfer authorization he carried. The oldest girl studied it carefully, then nodded again. "It means you are allowed to stay," she said. Aloud, the word surprised him. "I thought I would own it," he said. She shook her head gently. "No one owns this land, people care for it." Daniel felt a strange respect in her words. He followed them toward the house. Inside, the building was cleaner than expected. Someone had repaired broken walls and restored old equipment. Traditional decorations hung beside modern devices, creating a mix of past and future. He sensed history here. Over a simple meal, they told him pieces of their story. Their ancestors had lived on this land long before corporations arrived. The ranch sat on ground considered sacred by their people. When settlers first came, they worked together peacefully. But over time, companies tried to take control, and many families left. These 3 had stayed. "Why?" Daniel asked quietly. "Because it remembers," the youngest said. Daniel did not understand what she meant, but he felt the weight behind her words. As night fell, he stepped outside. Stars covered the sky like endless lights. The ranch looked peaceful under the moon. Then he noticed something strange. Faint lights flickered on distant hills, not natural lights, but moving signals. Someone else was out there, watching. Daniel felt instinct tighten in his chest. Whatever this ranch truly was, he realized it was not abandoned, and whoever wrote that note knew exactly who they were calling. He turned back toward the house, aware that his life had just changed in ways he could not yet understand. Daniel did not sleep much that night. The ranch felt peaceful, but his instincts told him something deeper moved beneath the quiet surface. Years of traveling across frontier worlds had trained him to notice small details, strange sounds, distant movement, the way people spoke without saying everything. And the three girls clearly knew more than they had told him. Morning arrived slowly, sunlight spreading across the plains like warm gold. Daniel stepped outside early, carrying a cup of strong coffee. The air was cool and calm. He walked along the fence line, inspecting damage and weak power nodes. Whoever lived here before had built the ranch carefully. The systems were old but reliable. As he worked, he noticed carved stones placed at intervals along the property border. At first, he thought they were simple decorations, but when he looked closer, he saw patterns etched into them, symbols that felt both ancient and precise. The oldest girl approached quietly. "You noticed them," she said. Daniel nodded. "They look important." "They mark more than land," she replied softly. "They mark balance." Daniel crouched beside one stone and scanned it with his handheld device. The screen flickered with unusual readings. Energy, not strong but steady. "What is under this ranch?" he asked. The girl hesitated again, as if choosing her words carefully. "We were told there is something sleeping," she said. "Something built long ago to protect this world." Daniel felt curiosity grow stronger. "Technology?" he asked. "Yes, but not only machines." Her answer confused him, but before he could ask more, the youngest girl called from the barn. A small alert system had activated. Daniel stood quickly. They moved toward the barn together. Inside, an old communication panel blinked with a warning signal. Incoming vehicles. Daniel stepped outside again and looked toward the horizon. Dust rose in the distance, fast-moving shapes approaching across the plains. "Visitors?" he asked. The middle girl shook her head slowly. "They came before," she said. "They want the land." Daniel felt tension settle in his shoulders. A few minutes later, 3 hover bikes stopped near the ranch entrance. The riders wore corporate armor, clean, polished, too perfect for honest ranch work. One man removed his helmet and smiled politely, but his eyes stayed cold. "You must be the new buyer," he said to Daniel. "We represent Terracore Mining. This property belongs to us now." Daniel crossed his arms calmly. "I have legal transfer documents," he replied. The man's smile did not change. "Those documents will become invalid soon. We recommend you leave peacefully." Daniel glanced at the girls. They stood silently behind him, watching carefully. "Why do you want this place?" Daniel asked. The man shrugged slightly. "Business opportunities, nothing personal." Daniel knew that answer meant something was being hidden. "I'm not leaving," he said simply. The riders exchanged looks. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Finally, the man nodded slowly. "You will change your mind," he said before turning away. The hover bikes left quickly, disappearing into the dust. Daniel released a slow breath. "They will come back," he said. "Yes," the oldest girl answered. They returned inside and began planning. Daniel helped repair old defense systems, motion sensors, protective shields, and power lines connecting the ranch to buried energy sources. As they worked together, trust slowly grew between them. Later that afternoon, the youngest girl led Daniel behind the barn. She pointed to a hidden hatch partly covered by soil. "This was sealed long ago," she said. Together they cleared the dirt away and opened it. A ladder led down into darkness. Daniel activated a light and climbed carefully, the girls following behind. The underground chamber felt ancient but strong. Metal walls curved smoothly, and strange panels covered with symbols glowed faintly. At the center stood a console unlike anything Daniel had seen before. When the oldest girl stepped closer, the console reacted. Soft light appeared, forming shapes in the air, holographic images showing settlers working alongside tribal ancestors. The recording spoke about cooperation, about building a guardian system designed to protect the planet from exploitation. Daniel listened carefully. The system was not a weapon. It was a protector designed to maintain environmental balance and prevent destruction. "This is why they want the land," he said quietly. "Yes," she answered. As the hologram faded, a new signal appeared on the console. Warning. External scans detected. Someone in orbit was searching. Daniel felt the situation growing more dangerous. "They know something activated," he said. The girls looked at him, concern in their eyes. For the first time, Daniel understood why the note had been sent. Someone needed help protecting this place, and now he was part of it. That night, they prepared together, reinforcing defenses, checking supplies, and planning how to keep the ranch safe. As Daniel stood under the stars again, he realized he no longer felt like a stranger here. He felt responsible, and somewhere deep beneath the soil, the Guardian system slowly began to wake. The ranch felt different after they discovered the underground chamber. Daniel could not explain it clearly, but the air itself seemed heavier, like the land was waiting for something. The girls moved more carefully now, often checking the carved stones around the property as if listening to silent messages. Morning came with strong winds pushing dust across the plains. Daniel stood near the fence line, watching the horizon through binoculars. Since the visit from terracore mining, he expected trouble at any moment. He was not wrong. Far away, several shapes moved slowly toward the ranch, larger vehicles this time. "They're coming back," he said quietly. The oldest girl joined him, her expression calm but serious. "Yes, they believe the land belongs to them." Daniel lowered the binoculars. "Well, they're going to learn something new today." He was not a man who enjoyed conflict, but he knew how to prepare. Years of frontier life had taught him patience and strategy. Instead of building weapons, he focused on defense, activating old shield generators and repositioning motion sensors along the main road. Inside the house, the girls worked on the console data they had copied from the underground chamber. Symbols appeared across a portable screen. "The Guardian system is responding," the middle girl said. "Responding to what?" Daniel asked. "To us and to danger." The youngest girl looked worried. "It is not fully awake yet." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then we buy it time." The vehicles arrived near midday. 2 heavy transports and several hover bikes stopped just outside the ranch boundary. Armed security stepped out, forming a line. The same man from before approached, his polite smile still in place. "You were warned," he called out. "This is your final chance to leave peacefully." Daniel stepped forward but stayed behind the fence. "I legally own this property," he replied calmly, "and you have no right to force us out." The man's smile faded slightly. "Ownership is complicated when valuable resources are discovered." Daniel felt confirmation in those words. They knew about the Guardian system. "I don't see any mining equipment," Daniel said, "so maybe you should go back to wherever you came from." The man sighed. "Very well." He gestured to his team. The security personnel moved forward, but the moment they crossed the carved stone markers, a soft hum filled the air. Light rose from the ground. A transparent barrier appeared around the ranch, glowing faintly like heat waves in sunlight. The guards stopped immediately. Daniel looked surprised. He had activated defensive systems earlier, but this energy felt different, stronger, ancient. "The Guardian," the oldest girl whispered. The barrier did not harm anyone. It simply prevented entry. The terracore leader's expression hardened. "You activated something you don't understand," he said. Daniel crossed his arms. "Maybe, but it understands you don't belong here." The vehicles withdrew slowly, but Daniel knew they would not give up easily. That evening they returned underground. The console glowed brighter now, responding to their presence. Holographic shapes formed again, showing images of early settlers working with tribal leaders. The recorded message continued. "This system exists to protect balance," the voice said. "It recognizes guardians, those who choose care over control." Daniel listened carefully. "So the system decides who can access it," he said. "Yes," the oldest girl replied. "It watches actions, not titles." They explored deeper sections of the chamber, discovering hidden corridors leading to advanced machinery. Soft energy flowed through the walls like living light. Suddenly, alarms sounded. External scan detected. Orbital vessels approaching. Daniel felt tension rise again. "They called for backup," he said. The girls looked at each other. "If they attack from above, the ranch will not survive," the youngest said quietly. Daniel thought quickly. "What does the Guardian need to fully activate?" The middle girl checked the console. It requires 3 primary keys and 1 witness. Daniel frowned. Witness? Yes, someone not from the original builders, someone who chooses to protect freely. All 3 girls looked at him. Daniel understood. He stepped forward slowly. I'm no hero, he said. But I won't let them destroy this place. The console reacted immediately. Light spread across the room, forming new patterns. Above them, outside the ranch, clouds moved strangely as energy gathered. The Guardian system was waking. Later that night, they stood outside watching the sky. Stars shimmered, but new shapes appeared, ships descending from orbit. Daniel felt fear, but also determination. The youngest girl stood beside him. Why did you stay? She asked quietly. He thought for a moment. Because someone asked for help, he answered simply. And because this place feels like home. The girl smiled softly. As the ships came closer, the energy barrier around the ranch grew brighter, stronger. Daniel realized this was only the beginning. The Guardian had chosen to awaken, and tomorrow would decide whether the ranch remained free or became another lost story of the frontier. The night sky above the ranch no longer felt peaceful. Large shadows moved slowly between the stars as the orbital ships descended. Their engines glowed softly, cutting through the darkness like silent warnings. Daniel stood beside the 3 girls near the fence line, watching carefully. The energy barrier around the ranch shimmered faintly, alive with quiet power. It felt strong, but Daniel knew nothing was truly unbreakable. The youngest girl wrapped her arms around herself. They will not stop, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. Maybe not, he replied, but neither will we. He was surprised by how calm he felt. A few days earlier, this place had been nothing more than a strange listing on a screen. Now it felt like something worth protecting, not because he owned it, but because it mattered. The Guardian system beneath the soil continued to hum gently. Its presence felt like a heartbeat under the land. Suddenly, a beam of light descended from one of the ships and touched the ground just beyond the ranch boundary. Several figures appeared moments later, stepping forward confidently. The Terracore leader walked ahead of them, his expression colder than before. This ends tonight, he called across the field. Daniel stepped forward but stayed within the barrier. It already ended when you tried to take what wasn't yours, he answered calmly. The man laughed softly. Everything belongs to someone willing to claim it. Daniel shook his head. Not this place. The leader raised a small device and activated it. A scanning wave moved toward the ranch, pressing against the energy barrier. The surface shimmered but held firm. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then the ground beneath Daniel's boots vibrated. Light began to rise from the carved stones placed around the ranch. Soft beams connected them, forming a wide circle of glowing energy. The Guardian was fully awake. A deep but gentle sound filled the air, not loud or threatening, but powerful enough to make everyone pause. Holographic shapes appeared above the ranch, forming images of landscapes, animals, and people living together peacefully. The message was clear without words. This system existed to protect balance, not to dominate. The Terracore leader stared upward, frustration growing in his face. You think a machine will stop progress? He demanded. The oldest girl stepped forward beside Daniel. It is not stopping progress, she said calmly. It is protecting life. The leader signaled his team again, but before they could move closer, the energy barrier expanded slightly, creating a gentle push that forced them back without harm. Daniel watched carefully. The Guardian did not attack. It simply refused to allow violence. The orbital ships above began scanning more aggressively, but their signals faded whenever they approached the ranch. The Guardian field distorted their equipment, preventing interference. Minutes passed. Finally, a new transmission arrived, this time from planetary authorities. The Guardian activation had triggered automatic alerts across nearby systems. Official voices spoke firmly through communication channels, ordering Terracore to withdraw and cease all operations. The leader's confident expression cracked for the first time. This isn't over, he said quietly. Daniel met his eyes calmly. It is here. After a long moment, the Terracore team retreated. Their vehicles lifted into the air and moved away, followed by the ships slowly rising back toward orbit. Silence returned to the plains. The energy barrier softened but remained active, glowing faintly like a protective shield. The youngest girl laughed softly in relief. They are gone. For now, Daniel said gently, but this place is stronger than before. They returned underground one final time. The Guardian console displayed new information, legal recognition of protected land status and historical preservation rights. The system had shared its data with authorities, proving the cultural and environmental importance of the ranch. The middle girl smiled. It knows how to protect itself. Daniel chuckled quietly, and it chose you three as its guardians. And you, the oldest girl added. Daniel shook his head slightly. I just showed up. She looked at him seriously. No, you chose to stay. Her words stayed with him. Over the next weeks, the ranch slowly changed. Repairs were completed, fields prepared for planting, and new structures built combining old traditions with advanced technology. Travelers began to visit peacefully, curious about the Guardian system and the story behind it. Some came to learn, others to help. Daniel found himself waking each morning with purpose again. One evening he stood near the barn watching the sunset paint the sky in soft colors. The girls walked toward him, smiling more easily now than when he first arrived. You could leave any time, the youngest said. Daniel looked across the land, the fences, the house, the distant hills glowing under fading light. He thought about the years he had spent wandering without direction. Then he shook his head. I think I finally found where I belong. The oldest girl nodded, as if she had known all along. Above them, the Guardian system hummed softly, watching but never controlling, protecting balance while allowing life to grow freely. The ranch was no longer a forgotten place sold by a mysterious note. It had become a symbol of something stronger, trust, respect, and the choice to protect rather than take. And under the endless frontier sky, a cowboy who once searched for a home finally stopped searching.